Hello everyone. Can you all hear me? Cool. So we are. Hope you all had good lunch and you're having good time in the virtual conference. So we will be starting our lightning talks session. So we have the first talk by Banu. So Banu is going to talk on the QGIS, which is some tool to manipulate some geospatial data sets. So that I'll be handing over the mic to Banu. So he'll be talking. Hey Banu, you can start.
Cool. Thanks, Vidhi. Good to be here. Let me share my screen. I hope you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Cool. So, imagine you have a data set that that you like to visualize, probably on a spatial map. But first, you have to grab the data. For this specific one, I'm going to talk about Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, which was recently released. So here you have to grab the data for every single state, click it, click view, click on download, and then you get access to the access file. But from now, how would you visualize it? One way is you can take it to GeoPandas, but I couldn't get GeoPandas installation to work when I upgraded it recently. The other way is you have to go to JavaScript, create write code and all of that. I didn't want to do that either. There's another utility called Map Shaper, but it wouldn't take data in CSV file. Um, let's say I give it a CSV file, it'll just show the points as is. But I would rather have this mapped on a map, right? So that's where QGIS would come into picture. So uh, you this is something you have to install on your machine. It's also available on different platforms. So since I have point data meaning for every point I have a lat long, and every point will be some kind of entity like a bank, hospital, school, and so on. So I like to go to a layer, click on add layer, click on add delimited text layer. I have to pick a file, so I'll pick chhattisgarh.csv. In order for you to visualize, you need lat longs. Fortunately, this data has it. So for the X field, you pick longitude. For the Y field, you pick latitude and say add. This will add the data, and you can right click on the layer and say open attribute table. You will see whatever data you have seen on the in the CSV file. And the way you would export this file into GeoJSON or any other shapefile format is basically go to project and or rather right click on the layer, click on export, save features. Why is that? Because maybe you want to take this file to some other application and integrate it there. So you click on GeoJSON, give it a test, give it some name, and then you download it, right? So once you have it, you can basically check to see if it is working fine or not. I can add a file, click import. You will see that okay, this is mapped fine, and I'm able to see the points interactively. But for you to do it for each and every state is going to be cumbersome, right? Because Chhattisgarh is only one state, and I have so many of them. Instead, QGIS gives you an interface to write a script, which is if I run this one, I'll remove the existing layers. I'll just run this. It will take a moment to run. So what it does is it checks in a specific directory called pmgsv/all/all csvs and adds a vector layer. Every state or a UT will be a layer, and then you define what the lat long is. These are variables formatted as longitude and latitude, which are described for this X field and Y field, and you run
Okay.
this.
I think Banu, the time is up.
Okay, last 20 seconds.
Yes.
For the scripts, you can just go to this.github.com/bkamapantalam. I'll paste a link in the event chat window. If you have questions, please do post there. Thank you.
Thank you, Banu. So we have our next talk by on Fun with BBC Microbit by Sri Gayatri. So she's a 8th grade student at St. Anne's High School. So let's welcome Sri Gayatri. Hi Gayatri.
Hello.
You can
Good
start your
afternoon,
session.
everyone. My name is Gayatri. I'm studying in 8th grade. Today I'm going to tell about BBC Microbit. BBC Microbit is a small pocket-sized computer, which kids can also play with it. Uh, BBC Microbit is an introduction tool to software and hardware. So now I'm going to show about blinking lights.
Showing them. Ask them, can they see the screen?
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. So this is blinking lights. If you press button A in Microbit,
Show there.
this is Microbit. This is Microbit. It has buttons, button A, button B. It also has LEDs in it and compass, sensors, etc. Now if we press button A in this, the speed of the lights will increase and the icon will be showing happy. And if we press button B, the speed of the light will decrease like slow, and it shows icons sad. And if we press both the buttons, button A and button B, it will be normal again. If we press button A, the light level will increase.
Show the code.
Yeah, so this is the code. Now we can switch this into Python and JavaScript, anything. So I used blocks. We can switch it and we can use this Microbit. We can play with Microbit and children love it. I'm fascinated by Microbit. For the beginners of processing, we can use Microbit. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Gayatri.
Welcome.
Yeah. Okay. So you can ask her questions on the feed or Julep channel. Tag Anand there. So yeah. All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. So we have our next talk by Chandan Kumar on Pip Chill, a more relaxed Pip phrase. So handing over to Chandan.
Okay. How can you let me see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, so today I'm going to talk about a pip chill. It's basically a more relaxed pip phrase. So let me say my terminal first. I think you can see my terminal and the font is okay. So before diving deep, what is pip? So pip is a package installer for Python. So when we create a new project, we generally create a virtual env. Let me give the virtual env name .vnv. Let me activate it. Okay, I'm set virtual env. So if we want to start working on a new project, and Python provides a rich set of third-party libraries, which generally hosted on pypi.org, and we use pip to install third-party libraries. So for example, I need to install pip. So I need to install request. So what I can do, pip install request. Suppose I'm writing an application, which is a web application. I need Flask. So I'm also going to install pip install Flask. Okay, so I've just installed 2 packages. So when we create a new project and when we try to ship it to users or other developers, we try to store all the requirements in a requirement.txt files. So for generating requirement.txt, we generally use pip freeze command. So let me type the command pip freeze and read out the output in requirements.txt file. Okay, so if I do cat requirement.txt, and if I check the line number, I can use wc-m command. So here you can see I have just installed 2 packages and the generated requirement.txt is giving 11 packages. That's not good. So let me install the pipchill command. So it's another Python third-party package. So I'm going to use the pip install command to install that package, and we are going to do pip install pipchill. Okay. We can also create requirement.txt using pipchill command in the same way. So pipchill out the output in another requirement.txt. Okay, let me do cat chill requirement. So here I have just installed 3 packages and it's just listing out the 3 requirements which is actually required by the system. It does not embed the requirements of the packages getting installed. Okay, it only installs the required packages. So here's the difference. So you can use this tool, and this tool is written by Ricardo Banfi, and you can find the same information on this one, and it's very helpful. And I can pass these links here. That's it from my side.
All right. Thank you, Chandan. So, yes, so you can post him all the questions on the feed or in the track. All right. Zulu. Okay, so we have our next talk by Satyakam on why developer communities matter.
Yep.
Over to you, Satyakam.
Yep. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, you can.
Yep. Do you mean see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So it was more of a very ad hoc thing which Kalyan pushed me to. So pardon my presentation skills here right now, but I just made my slides. So it's a very simple story why developer communities matter and why it's so important to me and my causes, and the organization which I'm running, the afros.org. And the story is very simple. I have been part of lots of Linux user communities, and I come from Hyderabad, and then I lived there. And then the other user group communities in Delhi. Then comes Bangalore, had Delhi, Hyderabad, OpenStreetMap, and then came I hit upon Python, way back in like 2009 or 10. I don't remember the dates also. So every time we face the issues of organization issues, and that gave me a thought. When we were doing our PyCon India in Delhi way back in 2015, and that's the time I just created the organization, just kept it like that, without thinking much about what I'm going to do with that. So it's an idea of organizing the communities in a very, very different way. It's not like it's in some way like a lot of people think, is it an umbrella organization or is it something to do with this and that? We don't want to do anything of all that. We just want to be like a secretariat where we say, okay, these are the good practices. These are the things which have been there for historical reasons or not. Always there is a chance for improvement, and then we slowly get into the mode of community building. And why does it happen? So over the years I have seen communities forming and dying, and as well as not getting there to the mark of doing something which they wanted to achieve. Like there is always a desire in the young blood, young people. So over the years, because of 2.5 decades in the industry, I've seen this. So this is the problem which I wanted to solve. That's where the organization called Afrost came into. It's trying to solve some of it. It's not there yet, but I'm trying to solve that. Like one of the things which I'm trying to do and help with PyCon India community and even this PyConf Hyderabad is getting their accounts set. But my vision of it is we should have every member here, and we should have representation to the, let's say, so-called lesser communities in remote part of the India, developer communities. And there are so many people that when the government tries to make certain policies and decision making. So one of the ideas is by events, supporting events, we get to know people, and then we connect people, a lot of people together. And then as and when time grows and the trust grows between me as an individual, and then I'm going to go give this total control of everything to everyone, it's in a very democratic way. So that this organization, hopefully, I want to make it into something where people can come, learn, and connect, and grow from there. And over the years, I have also realized the necessities of every developer, grows over the time. Like somebody is right now learning something, but very soon he joins an organization where he gets into. He does not have negotiation skills to begin with. I have seen lots of times, because I also mentor lots of kids in summers and winters in developing their coding skills as well as other skills. So that's what I just wanted to share. If anyone is looking for help anywhere, being wanting to be mentored in some ways, because being there, I have lots of connects with the people in the industry who are experts in their own domain, and I can connect you immediately and make things possible very quickly. You can reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn or GitHub, anywhere. So I'm very much there to help people, communities, especially people in need of getting things done or trying to crawl. I can make them walk. If they are trying to walk, I can make them run, this kind of a thing. So that kind of a catalytic kind of role, this organization, I would love to play, as an organization, as a whole collective very soon, because there will be a lot of people who will be joining us as mentors, and we will help each other. That's my idea. Yep. Kalyan?
All right. Thank you, Satya.
Can I stop sharing, or
Yes,
how do I do that?
I'm stopping it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You can post all the questions as mentioned on the Zulip. So we have our next talk by Snehit on unsupervised learning in Python. Hello, Snehit. Yeah, I think there is some lag. Just a minute.
Can you guys hear me?
Is on stage. All right.
Okay, perfect. So I don't have anything to share today. Typically unsupervised learning, as such, as we call, is something where you talk about not not guiding or supervising the data, but the pattern discovery is uh, done by the prediction task, but instead of uncovering the hidden structure from the unlabeled data. So unsupervised learning typically encompasses, you can call them a variety of techniques in machine learning, from clustering to dimensionality reduction or matrix factorization, for example. So when you talk about clustering for data exploration, for example, typically cluster analysis, it's as I mentioned earlier, an unsupervised machine learning task, which typically involves automatically discovering groupings in the data. And I mean, unlike supervised learning, the clustering algorithms typically interpret the input data and find the natural groupings based upon the affinity in the feature space. So typically in clustering techniques, there is no class to be predicted, but typically it's about how the natural groups are formed and where the natural division happens within those individual classes. So typically in Python, you have the Skykit API, and again, this is for the beginners out there. There are a few popular algorithms in terms of clustering, like the most popular ones, of course, is the k-means one. You also have the agglomerative clustering. You have Birch, DP-scan. There are multiple Gaussian algorithms also that you could use for clustering. And there's also a separate, family of clustering called, hierarchical clustering that can also be used. And when you talk about dimensionality reduction, for example, dimensionality reduction is typically used when there is a large feature set, right? You might have thousands of columns, which might not always all be required as a part of your prediction. So dimensionality reduction actually helps you to summarize the data set without losing the information from the columns, because not all columns might be informational enough. So you'll typically look at how to reduce in dimensionality reduction. You would typically do something called as principal component analysis, which is often used before the supervised learning to improve the model performance. So you are reducing your data set to capture, say, 98 or 99% of the information with the reduced set of columns. So that's where dimensionality reduction helps. This actually helps in model performance a lot, and it can also be used for say unsupervised learning. For example, you can look at, for example, there are a list of articles at a newspaper site. You can cluster those articles by their content by reducing the number of features that are associated with that. So again, Skykit API is available in order to do principal component analysis. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you, Prithvi.
Thank you, Sneh. So we have our next talk by Vipul Gupta on Write the Docs. Welcoming Vipul. Vipul? Hi, Vipul. We can start the session. We can't hear you, Vipul. Vipul, we can't hear you. Vipul, I think you are on mute.
Hello. Oh yeah. Now
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
yeah, sorry.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure my laptop turned off the mic. No worries.
Okay.
Let
That's fine.
if you can see my screen now.
Uh, I don't see any. Okay. All right. Now. Yeah.
Yeah. So hey folks, sorry for the delay. I am Vipul, and I'm going to talk about this topic that is very close to my heart, which is write the docs, right? And what's it about, and how hmm, something is happening. Oh yeah. So just to, begin with the short introduction. Um, when you're starting to build a product, how do you go about it, or what comes into it? And for me, when I'm building a product or when I'm shipping a project, whether it's your open source project, you're making a couple of scripts together, you're doing something hacky, you want to automate something, or whether it could be a very large project that your company is making, maybe you're shipping a project with Python, you include code, you include some test with it, whether you're writing PyTest, you're doing something with it where you want to test system integration, or you want to do unit testing, you included deployment files, and that's about it, right? You when you're building a product, whether it's internal or something like that, these are mostly the things that are involved. But what about releasing a product? When you go about releasing a product, the thing that gets missed, and I think my presentation might have given it away, the thing that you miss is docs, right? um, when you release the product, docs are always almost like a side product being left behind to be done later on. That's not ideal. That's not how it should go around, because if you leave docs for the end, what does happen, or what does tend to happen, is they go unmaintained. You can't keep up with them because your product is always evolving, so your docs are always playing catch up, and the pipeline for documentation never gets fit right. You are sort of making one pull request for your code and then another pull request somewhere else for the docs, and that's where it's not the most ideal way of things to go around, right? So like another exercise I try to do is, if you folks can name me any open source project, and since we are not in a live conference, I will do this question rhetorically. Is, let's say it's Flask, let's say it's Django, and now if you can name me a project or open source project without documentation, and that's where we go on to realize how important docs is. If your project is open source, if your customers or if your audience is a customer centric or a developer centric product, then the documentation has to be more than good enough. Like it has to be at a particular level that people understand and get your product. They don't have to go on to Stack Overflow or open issues on your GitHub to see why this button does not work, and that creates all sorts of problems. So that's what we are all about. I have a initiative that's called Mixster, and what Mixster does is we write documentation. We write it for several open source projects these days, and we also help out some early stage startups who want documentation to be written as they should for developers by developers. And that's what we help around. We follow our approach called, I think it's quite popular in the community. It's called the documentation driven approach. And if you look around, a lot of people are following a similar approach where your documentation drives your development. And I think it should be DDD, which is documentation driven development, where you go on creating your spec, or you go on creating your documentation first, deriving all your features from it, writing code for those features, and then releasing the product with tests, with deployment pipelines. So the documentation reaches the first part of the stack, the first thing that you do, and then you go and build from it. Why I feel like, and I think this is a good place to discuss DDD as well, is why I feel this is a great way to go around in our companies if you like to try, or any project that you would like to try with DDD is, when you start with a documentation driven development approach, you can bring in a lot more people onto the same common platform, that is sort of English, where people can talk about their views, their ideas, and go on about discussing workflow ideas or design ideas on the same spec. People
Uh,
don't not yeah, I
uh,
think my time is ending.
yeah, yeah,
um,
exactly.
but yeah, just finishing it up is, people usually, since they're not on the same platform, people who don't know code, they can't contribute as much as they want to design decisions or codes decisions, and that's where we try to follow the DDD approach. With Mixter, we are an initiative that we write scalable documentation, and we help out with documentation pipelines. We maintain it for clients as well, and that's about it. I'm Vipul Gupta, and I knew I sort of missed out on the introduction, but that's for the mic. We'll blame it on the mic this time. But you can reach out to me all over the web with Vipulgupta2048, and we will be happy to help you out with your documentation. Thank you. That's about
Thank
it.
you. Thank you, Vipul. So we have come to the end of lightning talks. So yeah, thank you all for attending. See you around.
Bye.
Bye.